So strong core, strong culture, people service and quality, patient experience, employee experience, that strong culture, that strong core in those pillars or those elements of the organization, when you add those together and you shore those up, and you have a consistent, systematic way to continually improve your core and have a stronger and stronger core, which results in greater and greater care, which results in ease and speed of growth. Because when you're a magnet for talent, when you're a magnet for patients, then we've got the success formula for a strong organization well into the future.
Welcome to Culture Change RX, the podcast for healthcare professionals that are committed to creating a thriving workplace culture, improving the experiences of employees and patients, and ultimately unlocking their organization's next level of potential. I'm Sue Tetzloff, your host and co-founder of Capstone Leadership Solutions. Join me and my insightful guests each week as we share actionable insights for navigating the crucial people side of the business of healthcare. Subscribe now for a weekly dose of Culture Change RX. Now let's dive into this week's conversation where culture change takes center stage.
Welcome to another episode of Culture Change RX. This is Sue Tetzloff here, the co-founder of Capstone Leadership Solutions and your host of Culture Change RX. Today is one of those solo episodes that we call a culture bite, and I'm going to try to pack something really big into this small amount of time today. So as listeners are likely figuring out by now, is that our work at Capstone Leadership Solutions is primarily to work with small and rural healthcare organizations. And in particular, we work with them not just like an individual leader or small groups of leaders, but we truly work with the entire organization. So what I plan to do today in this episode is to give the short answer and to give the cliff notes to a question that we get often at Capstone Leadership Solutions when we're talking to senior leadership teams or executives that are leading small and rural healthcare organizations. And one of the things they're really curious about when they first start engaging in conversation with us is, how do you get such amazing, quick, and sometimes really unprecedented improvements in results for healthcare organizations, in particular related to the employee experience and patient experience? And some of those examples that they're looking at and seeing out there that we put out there and publish and share from healthcare organizations that we work with is an example of a hospital in northern Minnesota that their employee experience or employee engagement baseline metric was at the 22nd percentile, and they moved that up to the first in less than 1 year. And then the next year they went up into the 90s, and they've been there ever since. And so that sweeping improvement in such a short period of time in the employee experience, employee engagement. And we have other metrics there that we monitor for them, all those sub-scores such as trust and teamwork and things like that. And just the sweeping improvements that were made in such a short period of time and now have been sustained for a long period of time now, year after year. And then an example of a small organization in Wisconsin that came to us because they have one of the lowest patient experience scores in the state year after year. They'd tried many different things to improve it. It didn't work. Even a consultant that they were working with actually, after their work together, failed it to result in much improvement. They recommended us, and we came in and within a year decreased patient complaints by 88% in about just 1 year. And I mean, they had a lot of complaints. So decreasing them by 88% meant a lot less complaints. And think of just the time and the energy that it cost the organization and the angst and overwhelm that all of that complaint resolution activity took. And now that's gone away, right? Another hospital in Wisconsin that was at the 17th percentile as their baseline in their patients' willingness to recommend their hospital to others. And within 18 months, they got that to the 91st percentile. So they were at the 17th percentile and got to the 91st percentile in 18 months. So we get this question a lot, like how do you get such amazing, sometimes unprecedented improvements and results? And our answer to that is, it could be really long, right? Because there's a lot of things that we do to partner with our healthcare organizations to guide them to creating those kind of results that are dramatically improving, but then sustainable and things to build on and continue to improve from there on out. And they have an approach now to do that, because the approach that helps them get those wide sweeping results, those dramatic results, are also the same sustainable approach that they can use year after year for continued improvement and continued growth. So it's really at the crux of the answer to how do we get results like this time and time again when we partner with healthcare organizations, is that we have a framework and approach, of course, but at the core of that is strengthening the organization's core business. And the core business of healthcare is people, service, and quality. That is the core business of healthcare organizations. We have to have a strong people pillar, right? All of the things that make up the people pillar: employee engagement, employee satisfaction, a great culture, etc., right? And then there's the service aspect. So safe and satisfying care is really about service and quality, right? And so these are the strong core elements of a healthcare organization. And really, if you want to take people, service, and quality pillars and those core aspects of a healthcare organization, those really make up, right, the patient experience and the employee experience. So the formula we're talking about is people plus service plus quality can equal ease and growth and financial success in the future, right? And so they come first. They are the core. If we just work on growth, if we just work on finance, and our people, service, and quality is average, growing and improving our finances is going to be much harder. So if we focus our primary improvement efforts in people, service, and quality and really strengthen the core of the organization, and as we've been able to demonstrate, that can be done in truly a big sweeping way. If it's already very poor or fair or average, that can be improved dramatically in 1 to 2 years. Now, that might seem like a long time to some organizations, like we need it yesterday, right? But even in, for instance, my community hospital, where we too created these kind of dramatic improving results in the history of a 100-plus-year-old organization, and an organization that's going to exist for decades to come, taking a couple years to create the results and to also adopt a new way of always improving, always growing, and taking a couple years to make that happen is a very important aspect of the entire history and the entire future of the organization. So strong core, strong culture, people, service, and quality, patient experience, employee experience, that strong culture, that strong core in those pillars or those elements of the organization, when you add those together and you shore those up, and you have a consistent, systematic way to continually improve your core and have a stronger and stronger core, which results in greater and greater care, which results in ease and speed of growth. Because when you're a magnet for talent, when you're a magnet for patients, then we've got the success formula for a strong organization well into the future. Now, to briefly dive into the approach that has been wildly successful in the healthcare organizations that we've worked with, dozens of them for the last 13 or so years, is that there's really a dual approach. There's a global approach in the organization where we're looking at the entire leadership team and having a model of leadership and a systematic way to always be strengthening the leadership of the organization and synergizing them around a model of leadership, a model of continually developing and mentoring, coaching the leaders. That's an internal, inside kind of process that they can optimize and consistently use to serve their leadership strength year after year for decades to come. So having a model and a process of leadership development and onboarding that's really a global solution for this is how we lead around here in the organization. And there's some very foundational solutions or evidence-based leadership practices that we find work time and time again for entire leadership teams. It's not a cookie cutter approach because you still have to make it yours, make it better, the model, apply it to your organization, but there's a foundational approach that can be globally used for this is how we lead around here, and all leaders being developed and coached and mentored to that way of leading. So it's very foundational. And when we see that foundational leadership model put in place, it has a wide sweeping positive ripple effect on people, service, and quality in the organization, and eventually even growth and finance too. So there's very foundational solutions that are global to leadership in a healthcare organization. And then there's foundational solutions for the patient experience and foundational solutions for the employee experience. Now, leaders have a role in that, yes. However, the big heavy lifting of that work and the approach we use with our partner healthcare organizations is having employee-driven teams. So these employee-driven teams become this amazing volunteer army that makes wide sweeping contributions to the organization's improvement in people, service, and quality. So patient experience, employee experience. And again, there's some very foundational solutions that we can put in the hands of those teams so that they can put them in the hands of all employees so that the organization can strengthen the core of their organization, the patient experience, the employee experience, which is really that strong core of the people, service, and quality pillars. And again, these are very global foundational solutions. So when a patient experience team made up primarily of employees are putting these foundational solutions into the hands of all the employees in the organization, what happens there is, again, it has some very wide sweeping, dramatic improvements across all sorts of problems and opportunities in the patient experience. The same thing with the employee experience. When they put these solutions in the hands of employees that are very foundational and global, they improve a lot of different things. And so we end up with some very dramatic improvements in areas where we're not individually seeking them out to put them through an improvement process, but just through the positive impact of these foundational solutions, we get a wide sweeping improvement in a lot of things. And these teams don't even realize the kind of things that they're improving in their organization that they may never even know about, where a pocket of issue existed in surgery or in the emergency department. And this team isn't specifically focused on fixing that one problem in the emergency department or surgery, but just through their work of bringing these solutions and putting them in the hands of all employees in those departments, all of a sudden these problems that existed that needed time and attention and work were magically or seemingly magically improved, right? So having an approach of having a leadership model, developing your leaders to that model, having these employee-driven teams where they know what those foundational solutions are, having a model for them to bring those solutions to employees, having a change approach so that they're successful in that. That is the work that we do at Capstone Leadership Solutions. We've become experts in helping organizations bring that leadership model alive, develop their systematic process for continually optimizing the individual and the collective use of that model and the foundational solutions, leadership solutions in that model. And then the same thing with these employee-driven teams and their ability to bring these foundational solutions into the hearts and minds of the employees in their healthcare organization. And through all of that, one of the things that we had no idea we were going to become such expert at Capstone Leadership Solutions is really understanding how individual humans change and how collectively entire groups of humans change and will embrace and adopt the new, better way of leading, of delivering great service and quality, and being a great workplace and being a great team member in that workplace, right? And so that whole change approach is part of this as well, right? Because if leaders never lead in these new, better ways, if employees never adopt these new, better ways of creating a patient experience, an employee experience that's top ranking, award winning, then it doesn't matter how great these solutions are if they're not getting used, right? And so that's all part and parcel of this change approach as well. So to answer again in the big quick answer to how do we get such amazing and sometimes unprecedented improvements in both the employee and patient experience, it truly is about having this global approach. So a wide sweeping organization-wide global approach to implementing these foundational solutions for leadership and for the patient employee experience, and that is approached using grassroots, volunteer army, employee driven team efforts. And then of course there's a whole nother layer of this where there's unique opportunities in each organization, where there's unique opportunities in each department. But again, a lot of those foundational solutions create answers to those unique opportunities, and those go away. So there's less of them. And when there's these unique opportunities or problems or pockets, either that are wide sweeping in the organization or in individual departments that require attention to strengthen people's service and quality, and we're better equipped to improve and change in those areas because of all the lessons we've learned through the foundational solutions and approaches of how we improve, how we change, how we lead, and how we work together as teams to make improvements over time and long term and well into the future. So this is our work at Capstone Leadership Solutions. We are not the hero in this work. We are the guides, the helpers. We transfer this learning. We transfer this approach. We transfer this formula. We transfer these foundational solutions so that organizations grasp the ownership for this. They make it theirs. They make it better. They sustain it. They build on it. And that is our ultimate work with them, is that they become autonomous and independent beyond just that initial strengthening of their core, is that taking that well into the future to high reliability, to create a ever improving, stronger core and culture that delivers great care, creates a great work environment, serves their organization, and in particular serves its patients and its community well into the future. So this is the work of Capstone and how we help organizations create amazing and sometimes unprecedented improvements that last them and serve their organization and their patients and community for decades to come. So if you're interested in learning more about our approach and possibly adopting this approach in your healthcare organizations, and again, particularly we work with small and rural healthcare organizations, which truly means that usually they're critical access hospitals, but not always. Could be a sole community provider hospital, or even a different type of healthcare organization like a nursing home or an ambulatory surgery center, or some organization that's typically less than 1,000 employees. While we know that this approach that we use likely could and would work in different types of healthcare organizations that are much larger, it is our mission and our passion at Capstone Leadership to work in strengthening small and rural healthcare organizations. So if you're interested in learning more, you can go to capstoneleadership.net, and there's a contact us page where you can schedule time to have a conversation and dig into this deeper and how it might work and apply to your organization. Or there's a form that you can fill out and we'll be in touch. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Culture Change RX, and we'll be back again each Wednesday with another episode.
Thanks for tuning in to Culture Change RX. If you found value in today's episode and you are a believer in fostering change in healthcare, join us in making a difference. follow, rate, and review our podcast on your favorite platform. Share it with colleagues and your network. Together, we can make a lasting impact. Until next week, keep inspiring positive change.